Broadway or Broadway theater, it might be more known as, is a very general term. It's used loosely by a lot of people. It can literally be the equivalent of just the term literal musical theater, like a music genre, but it can also refer to just like the one specific set of theaters located in New York City, and they're used to perform musicals and plays. That's from the History of Broadway Theater 2022. There are about 40 theaters that can each hold 500 or more people in them in New York in the theater district and also located in Lincoln Center from Rosca 2013. Theater in general, not musical theater, just the regular theater, first became popular in New York around 1750 and is still pop around and is very popular today. That's from History Swings 2021. In 1750, two actor managers named Walter Murray and Thomas Keene, they took it upon themselves to create the first significant theater located in New York. They established their resident theater there along a little side street called Nassau Street with a max capacity of about 280 people, which for the time was pretty big considering that they didn't have microphones, speaker systems, or anything. This is back in 1750 before the revolution even, so they established the resident theater there, and it mostly just showed Shakespearean plays and different ballad operas that they showed it in. And then, but as the popularity in the field of theater started to increase, uh, they started to expand into more genres, and more people began getting interested in that type of thing. And so they started producing more works of that sort of thing that can be performed in like on a stage or a theater. In the early 1900s, Broadway started using their electric lights to advertise their shows along the street because the light bulb had just been invented. But since it was the early days of the light bulb, the colored light bulbs that they like to use burn out really fast, and so they couldn't use those. And so they changed to like a stark, bright white light that they always used. And then what we know as Broadway now was known then as the Great White Way because at night it'd be lit up so big with all the big white lights because they didn't have any colored lights. They just had white lights lighting up their signs. And Broadway itself started really slowly. It started with just the one theater, and then eventually they began building more, and more companies got interested and saw the potential in the New York field, and so they moved there from England, especially since England was the initiator of the colonies. A lot of companies moved from England to New York, and they started locating in New York because there was a lot of people located there. It was a good location for theater. And it soon expanded, and now it's a known term all around the world. In the early 1900s, the genre and style of plays and musicals that were performed in Broadway theaters progressed across the eras with the changes in culture, but musicals didn't really start to take off until about like 1943, about when America got close to entering World War II, right before World War II. And so the musical started taking off. And by definition, a musical is a play or a film that combines the acting part of a play with singing as part of the dialogue. This genre quickly rose to take the attention of like broader theaters, and it just flooded the scene. Everybody loved them. Everybody started writing them. They just popped out. That's from Christensen 2022. Fast forward a couple decades to 1988, and the famous Phantom of the Opera came out. This rapidly became the most popular musical really ever produced and to get performed on Broadway, and for a good reason. By November of 2016, it had reached 12,000 performances and had become the first piece ever to get more than 10,000 performances. And by September of 2020, it became the first piece to be performed over 13,000 times, which is pretty amazing considering that those productions take a while to go on. And Broadway in New York, it currently is mainly performing musicals, but there are also a few plays that get performed. A lot of the best and most talented singers and writers of plays and everything, they're all employed at Broadway because that's the world knows Broadway, everybody wants Broadway, that's what everybody loves, and that's where they go. And you can find a lot of the best singers in the world. There's a lot of people that think that Broadway singers are actually more talented than like the pop and country rap artists that we listen to. They think they're more talented just because they have more experience singing on a stage. They just think they're better at singing. Two of the most popular musicals that are still showing right now and don't show any signs of slowing down are Hamilton and Dear Evan Hansen. That's from Bennett, the most popular Broadway musicals of all time. There are so many things that have been affected by Broadway in American history, and this is just a few of them, just from the start in New York and making New York a culture center, a mecca for everybody to go to, making it a great vacation spot, just entertainment in general, to just bringing in people, that type of theater people, musical people from Europe, drawing over here, and all the way just to its popularity today. It's been a huge influence in American culture. And it is a huge, important stage that brings in many amazing plays and music to life, and overall has become an icon in the US culture overall.